One of the most sacred duties of presidents in the modern era has been as consoler-in-chief. That is a role that's been of less interest to President Trump, who has instead declared himself a wartime president against an invisible enemy. Here's historian Jon Meacham in his own words.
The president, Woodrow Wilson once wrote, is at liberty both in law and conscience to be as big a man as he can. John F. Kennedy said, man can be as big as he wants, or as small. We're living with an American president who bullies, hectors, and preens, who's more interested in self-preservation and self-justification than in the health of the nation and of its people. It's easy then to be cynical about the whole business of politics. But this is Memorial Day, the occasion on which we commemorate the lives of those who've given what Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion to the country. And it's worth remembering that even in our recent past, we have had presidents who haven't catered to our worst instincts, but rather called on our better angels. None of these men was without fault. But however imperfect they were, they left us a more perfect union. Like his hero FDR, Ronald Reagan, the former sportscaster and movie star, had a gift for communicating fundamental truths about America. In his farewell address in January 1989, President Reagan addressed himself to American possibility, evoking, as he often had, John Winthrop's City Upon a Hill.
In my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. And she's still a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom, for all the pilgrims from all the lost places who are hurtling through the darkness toward home.
A few short years later, in 1995, anti-government extremists bombed the federal building in Oklahoma City. 168 people were killed, including 19 children. President Bill Clinton, whose party had been crushed in the recent midterms, rose to the occasion. The first baby boomer president became an accomplished consoler-in-chief.
Let us let our own children know that we will stand against the forces of fear. When there is talk of hatred, let us stand up and talk against it. When there is talk of violence, let us stand up and talk against it. In the face of death, let us honor life. As St. Paul admonished us, let us not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Reading a National Rifle Association fundraising letter that referred to federal agents as jackbooted thugs, former President George Herbert Walker Bush, a life member, resigned from the group after Oklahoma City.
Bush wrote the NRA, "Your broadside against federal agents deeply offends my own sense of decency and honor, and it offends my concept of service to country."
The 41st president asked that his name be permanently removed from the rolls of the NRA. And 6 years after that, in the wake of Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, George W. Bush took pains to say that the nation's enemy was terror, not all of Islam. With clarity and conviction, Bush spoke of America's commitment to bringing justice to those terrorists who had massacred thousands of innocents. Speaking in Washington's National Cathedral, Bush also deployed the vernacular of love to assuage unspeakable sorrow.
This world he created is of moral design. Grief and tragedy and hatred are only for a time. Goodness, remembrance, and love have no end. And the Lord of life holds all who die and all who mourn.
Mourning was on President Obama's mind when he flew to Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. An armed white supremacist wielding a .45 caliber Glock had killed 9 during a domestic terror attack on a Bible study group at the Emmanuel AME Church.
God has visited grace upon us, for he has allowed us to see where we've been blind.
Action had to follow words.
Perhaps this tragedy causes us to ask some tough questions about how we can permit so many of our children to languish in poverty. or attend dilapidated schools, or grow up without prospects for a job or for a career. Perhaps it causes us to examine what we're doing to cause some of our children to hate.
Suddenly, Obama began to sing.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Many Americans on this memorial more yearn to see a different day. And we need a president who lifts our souls. We had such presidents once, and God and the voters willing, we will again.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.